Hello lovely people, it's Nicola. Stitches and slapdashery, not in the sewing room. As you can see, I'm in my living room right now. It's pretty hot and sunny outside, so I've got the blinds partially closed. And usually I have a fan running in the background, but I had to turn it off or you wouldn't have heard a thing I said. So I hope you are all doing well. My day started quite early for me today. I had a haircut at 9 o'clock. So it's all super short on the back and sides and tidied up at the top. It's getting a bit out of hand for me. And it's completely my own natural colour now. Sort of a mixture of grey and brown. No colour left in it at all. Not like me at all. After I'd been to the hairdresser, I messaged my friend to see if she wanted to meet me so we could go to Michael's. I thought, seeing as I have sent in a resume online to Michael's, I'd also drop a paper copy of it in at the actual store. So what we ended up doing is we met at the fabric shop, and I didn't actually buy anything. This is the fabric shop that is closing soon. And my friend, because she makes a lot of things for rat cages, like hammocks and cage liners and things, she goes through a lot of fleece. So she bought a ton more fleece because she's concerned about what she's going to do once this fabric shop is no longer in our town. And I just had a browse around to see what had sold since the last time I was in. There's not much thread left. There's barely any Schmetz needles left. There's barely any flannelette left. There's quite a bit of quilt cotton. And I think that probably the discounts will get better on September the 1st because their closing date is the 19th. And so I'm holding off on actually buying any more quilt cotton until at least September 1st. And then it'll be a countdown for the big close. I did actually ask them if they needed me, I'd be willing to do a few shifts there because they've got some of the staff who are going back to school in September, and I'm currently unemployed. And she said she would let me know. I think she might need my help, and that'd be kind of fun to be back there just for a couple of weeks until it was all finished with. So after that, we went to Michael's, and before I went, I did go prepared. I feel like my yarn cubbies are looking a little bit depleted downstairs. Having completely freshened it all up the other day and putting everything back, and I thought, this yarn is the same yarn I've been looking at for a really long time, and I'm not really inspired by it. So I looked at my Ravelry queue, and I found a pattern on there that definitely inspired me. It's called the Technicolor Dream Coat, and it's by Earthtricks. And it is amazing. Had my eye on that for a really long time. I'll put it here so that you can see what it looks like on the Ravelry page. It's a paid for pattern, so I'll have to buy it. And it is a long coat with a long pointy hood, and it looks like it's got quite a few different stitch patterns in it, and it's going to be really fun to make. She wrote it for bulky yarn, but I noticed that when on the Ravelry page, she says what she used for it, and it looks like she used a lot of worsted weight yarn. And she said, if you want to make it in worsted, you can just make the next size up. and a lot of the measurements are in inches rather than saying do a certain amount of rows. She'll say work so many inches. And so if your gauge is slightly different from hers, it's not a big deal. So when I was in Michael's, I had a look at what they had. They have a really, really cheap range of yarn. I'm trying to remember what it's called now. I think it maybe replaced the Craft Smart, Craft something, Loops and Threads Craft something. And it's a 7-ounce ball and it's only $4.99. And I was like, oh, that's really cheap. And I had a bundle of it and I looked at the yardage on it and I thought, maybe. And then I went round the corner and I found the Impeccable. The Loops and Threads Impeccable is the yarn that I think they brought out to compete with Lion Brand Vanna's Choice years ago. And at the time, I made a hungry caterpillar blanket for my sister's grandchild. Oh, that would have been 6 or 7 years ago now. Trying to remember how old that child is now. I made a hungry caterpillar blanket and a hat and cocoon that all went together. And I got the book, of course, so it all went together as a package for the new baby. And at the time, the Impeccable didn't feel that nice. It wasn't that soft. Well, it's got a lot softer. I think they might have changed where they're getting it made. I'm not sure. Maybe they've changed the source. Maybe they've just upped the quality. I'm not sure. But it feels much nicer now. And it comes in a whole range of colors. So you can find whatever you need. It is a smaller ball. I think it's 4.5 ounces. And it's, I think it was $6.99 a ball at Michael's today. I did use a coupon, which only gave me 30% off one ball, so that only saved me a couple of dollars. I also played the senior discount card. Did you know you can get a senior discount at Michael's? They don't mention it anywhere. They never offer it to you. But I think if you're over 55, you ask for the senior discount, they'll give you 10% off everything. It's worth doing. So I played that card too. And my friend helped me pick out the colors. I knew I needed, if I was going to use worsted weight yarn, I knew I was going to need about 2,000 yards of it. And of course, I bought more than that. Who would I be if I only bought just enough for a project, right? So I've got them all in front of me, which is why I keep looking down at them, but I'll show you them now. So I got lots of fun colors, and I think they all go together really well. And what should we start with? Because I can't hold them all up together. I was going to get 10 balls, and I ended up getting 12. Because heaven forbid I should have run out. So let's start with the pinks. So I've got a couple of shades of pink. Now these only seem to have a number. They do not have a color name. Yeah. So we've got in each ball, it's 100% acrylic. I've got 285 yards or 260 meters, 4.5 ounces or 127 grams. And yeah, it feels so nice. So I've got 2 shades of pink. I've got 2 shades of purple. I have 2 shades of green. If you can hear hissing in the background, that's my pressure cooker. I'm cooking beans for dinner. Hopefully you can't, but that's what it is if you're wondering. If you've got supersonic hearing. I have 3 shades of turquoise or teal because that's my favorite color. So, you know, we have to splurge on that. And then these guys don't really go together, but there we are. I've got a deep red a soft orange, and a sort of gold colour. I did look at putting in maybe a brighter yellow, didn't like it. There was a neon orange, didn't like that. There was a brighter red, didn't like that. There were lots of other shades of blue, green, but those are the ones that I think went best. So I'll get a photograph or some film of all of them in one place so you can see how they look together, because I cannot hold all 12 at once. And then after that, totally exhausted by all that yarn shopping, of course, we went and had a cup of tea in a date square. And now I'm regretting the date square because I feel like I've eaten a 3-course meal. When will I ever learn? Should have just eaten half and saved the rest for later. Or even saved the other half for Mr. Stitches. He would have appreciated that. But no, I'm too greedy. So I'm going to pause here and put this all in one place, maybe on the floor, get a little bit of film of it all. And here they all are together. Aren't they pretty? I think they're going to make an awesome Technicolor dream coat. You know what they say about the best laid plans and everything. So, was it Friday? Yeah, Friday. Friday I had a nice little beach day all by myself. It wasn't particularly sunny down here, but it was warm and not busy, and I had a nice time for about 5 hours down here. Had a little walk, a couple of swims. Thought it would be a great idea to invite some friends to join me today, Monday, so that we could repeat the experience. So I get myself sorted out, dressed in my swimsuit, slather on the sunscreen, pack a flask of coffee and a bottle of water, even made myself some energy orbs. Do you make this sort of thing? They don't look very sexy, do they? They look kind of like an owl pellet, something that an owl coughed up, left on the ground. But they're very nutritious. And these ones are, people keep going by. I don't want them to think I'm talking to myself, but I really am right now, aren't I? I call these energy orbs apple pie energy balls because they have, well, I started out by grinding up walnuts, pumpkin seeds, and sunflower seeds. And then I added some almond butter, raisins, because I didn't have dates. I really like bejeweled dates in these things, but I didn't have any. A bit of maple syrup, some cinnamon, an apple, and some vanilla. And when I ground all that up in my food processor, it was a little wet, so I added some rolled oats as well. They're quite good. So I brought 6 of them out with me, thinking that'll be lots. And I left about 9 of them at home in the fridge. They probably would be better if refrigerated for a while and allow the oats to just firm everything up over a couple of hours, but I wanted to bring some with me, didn't I? So, you know. So what happened on the way here? It rained. I knew it didn't look very clear and sunny, but I thought maybe it was just smoke in the air. I thought, I'm going anyway. I've already put in the effort. I've packed my crochet. And so not only did it start to rain when I was on my way here, but I got to the library and they were closed. I thought, what's with that? I dropped my Jodie Picou novel in the book bin along with a book on brioche knitting. I tried brioche knitting once before and I was like, this is too hard. I can do that basic fisherman's rib. I mean, I learned how to do that when I was in my 20s, but brioche, proper brioche, oh my God, a whole book about it. And she makes it look so complicated that I thought I'm just going to take it back to the library. I thought it might make a nice bit of video, me trying to learn brioche again, but not even going to go there. So I dropped the books in the book bin and I can't get a new novel out to read at the beach. I mean, I still have my phone and my crochet. Question is it going to dry up enough for me to actually get out of the car and spend some time on the beach? With a few hardy souls around and about. A few people parked along the road here, waiting to see if it's going to be nice enough to get out of their vehicles. I mean, it's not cold, 23, 24 degrees. It's supposed to get considerably warmer than that later on. I'm going to have a third one of these. Very nutritious. And they make a really nice snack. And unlike the ones you buy that are ready-made and already wrapped up in a packet, you can be sure that whatever's in here is something you want to put in your body. Some of those things, they claim to be healthy, but they're really not. The first ingredient is sugar. We don't want that, do we? So there's a chance the rain may have stopped. I'll give it a little bit longer, and then I'll have to decide what to do if I decide not to stay here. I've parked myself underneath a friendly tree. Still getting a little bit wet. I thought the rain had stopped, but patently it has not. Maybe you can see the rain hitting the lake there. Does seem to be brightening up though. Well, it's midday and my perseverance paid off. I've been sitting here for about an hour with my crochet. So this is what the Granny Square project currently looks like. I've attached 3 squares down the side of the body. Shoulders are done. And I've attached 3 squares along this side. They have yet to be attached here. I've just been for a swim because I finally got warm enough to go and cool off, and I think I will, as long as I can bear being under the yarn, I will carry on with this joining. This is going to be a bit of a mashup of the best in vest and the best in dress. It's going to be longer than the Yarnspirations vest pattern by a row, but shorter than the dress pattern by a row. And I think before I do any edging, like any single crochet edging around the armholes and the neck and the bottom hem, I will try it on and make sure that this is actually something that I plan to wear. Because if I just change my mind on this, it will be really easy to unzip these joins. Much easier than if I had sewn them together. So you will have seen the little clip from the beach yesterday where I showed you the progress on the Granny Square top vest / sleeveless sweater / something. And I finished joining everything together last night and tried it on. Well, it looked really crappy. It was way too big. And the funny thing is, when I was pinning it to my dress form a couple of weeks ago, I had decided I was only going to do 3 squares across and that I felt like that was going to be enough. And then I had second thoughts about it. So after trying it on last night and being absolutely swallowed by this voluminous thing, I took the side squares out again. So now I'm back to just 12 squares on the front, 12 squares on the back, and 2 squares for the shoulders. And this is what it looks like right now. Ooh, up here. So the ends are not woven in yet. So that's the shoulders. I'm not 100% sold on how the shoulders look. And then that's the body. And for the side, I only joined up. So the armhole is this square here and these two squares here. I started to join from there, and then I joined these two together, and these two I left apart, so it makes a side slit to give a bit more room for my booty, shall we say. So after all that, I did not need the reddy purpley squares at all. I've only used the purple colorway, the amethyst, and I think this is called the frigid colorway. And not all of them either. So I just tried it on just now. It's fairly close fitting, but that's fine. And I'm going to be absolutely sure that I'm happy with it before I put the edgings on. I need to work some sort of edging around the armholes, bottom edge, and side slits, and the neckline. And I don't want the neckline to look too square. I'm thinking of somehow curving this corner here a little bit so that it looks more like a neckline, a rounded neckline than a squared off one. Yeah, trying something like that on when it's 30 degrees out, not exactly fun. Going back to the Technicolor Dream Coat briefly, I think that that's going to be an awesome fall project. I don't know how long it's going to take me because it is a coat that's going to fall probably halfway between my knees and my ankles. But it'll be like having a blanket project in that it keeps me warm while I'm crocheting on it on fall nights. But it won't be a blanket because, let's face it, I do have a lot of blankets already. But I do not have a Technicolor Dream Coat. So I'm really excited about that. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to resist playing with that Loops and Threads Impeccable yarn and finish this top first, and maybe finish the little baby hoodie first, because that has a deadline on it, although that's not till October. Or maybe have my baby hoodie as my portable project, and obviously the Technicolor Dream Coat is probably going to be a couch project, because that's a lot of yarn to be carrying around with you if you want to make it a portable one. 12 are large skeins of that yarn. I think we can officially say that the 10-stitch twist baby blanket is on a hiatus until I get interested enough in it to pick it up again. Getting quite the collection of project bags sitting over there by the couch. I invented a new recipe today. Cheese knots. It's a bread dough with interesting stuff mixed in, like mustard and turmeric and nutritional yeast, and then some vegan cheese on top when it baked. I'm going to test one out now because I can't wait. It's lunchtime and I'm going to try out one of these. I made a lentil soup this morning with various vegetables and canned tomatoes and coconut milk, and I have no idea if it's going to be good or not. I did taste it just to check the seasoning, and I think it's fine. And then I made these buns, which look really delicious and very yellowy because of the little bit of turmeric I put in them. So I'm going to test one out now. And I also freshened up the bathrooms in the kitchen, so I felt completely justified to then go sit on the couch and do some crochet, which I did. I apologize if I've still got bread dough under my nails. I think the neckline on this top is finished to my satisfaction. It's still pretty squared off, but I went around with single crochet, figuring out where I was going to work in all the way around. Corners are always a bit tricky. And then I did single crochet 3 together on the second and third round. And I tried it on and it seems fine. And right now I am in progress on the bottom hem. And of course then I had to figure out how I was going to go around the corner at the side slit. I thought I'd take stitching right over the joining line and work into the corners of these squares for sturdiness. No one's going to be looking closely at it. Of course, I had to figure out what I was going to do when I got to the join between 2 squares. So on these corners, I've done 3 single crochets into the corners. I've worked into every stitch, including the chains in between each cluster. And then on these parts, there were 2 chains here and here where there was nothing worked into them. So I worked into them both, so it wasn't pulling in. So at the moment, I'm pretty happy with it. I'm leaving the more challenging part till last. I should probably have tackled the sleeves first. Trying to do this by looking at it through the phone screen. When I tried it on, the squared off shoulders do stick out a little bit at the sides. So what I'm hoping is that when I have been around in single crochet on the sleeve sides, I can then decrease somewhat so that it will bring them in so they're not sticking out. You know what I mean? Some of these stitches are a little tricky to work into. What I will do with that recipe I invented this morning, I'll put the recipe for those buns underneath the video because they were really good, or are really good, because they're not eaten yet. I ate one. They were really to have with dinner. It's so nice if you make soup to have bread to go with it. And yeah, we've always got a basic commercial bread in the house, but homemade bread is so much nicer. This is where I obviously joined at the end of a square. It's a bit messy. Not all of the family will be excited about the fact that I've made soup for dinner. But Mr. Stitches, since his cancer treatment, he likes food that's not too dry. And he likes to take soup for work. Because once he had the radiation to his throat and neck and head, of course, it killed off a whole bunch of things like taste buds, salivary glands, hair follicles. And so Dry food can be a challenge. So I'll put some of the soup aside for him to take for work tomorrow, and maybe also for a couple more days if it doesn't all get eaten tonight. And we can have the cheesy rolls with it, which are even better with butter on, I have to say. And ideally, we would have a salad with that. I think I've gone and used up the last lettuce we had in the fridge. So it looks like it might soon be time to go shopping for groceries. I just realised I've been yakking away and the big floor fan is rumbling away in the background. It's quite loud. It's an industrial strength fan, and it's only on low, but low is way more powerful than most fans. But when the windows are open in the evenings and it's cooler outside than in the house, it helps to blow the air through. And then in the daytime, when we've got all the windows closed, we use it to blow the air through from the living room down the hall, because then the thermostat doesn't read as warm and the air conditioning doesn't kick in as quickly. We only cool to 25. Air conditioning is a new luxury to us. And I'm just coming to the end of the round. I only need one round of single crochet for the bottom edge. Not going to do any more than that. Done. Just the sleeve edges to go. For the sake of the vlog, I am overheating here. Not only am I drinking hot tea, but I also have my finished granny square top on. So let's take a look. I did, what was it? I think it was 3 rounds of single crochet around here with decreases at the corners. I did, should I stand on the chair? I've got a tie-dye skirt on, which doesn't go with anything. So for the bottom, I have done 1 round of single crochet with just a little bit of a decrease, or fiddling around at that corner there. And for the sleeve edges, not sleeves, I've been saying sleeves, haven't I? But I mean armhole. I ended up doing 3 rounds of single crochet on here. The first round was just working in every stitch. The second round, I tried it on, and it was very square and very gapey. So the second round, let's just check my notes here. The second round I did a round where I decreased over the top of each of the clusters. So where each of a cluster is, I decreased. So basically there were 15 decreases plus a single crochet 3 together right at the bottom of the armhole. I tried it on again. And then for the third round, I did 3 more stitches decreased at the front and back. So this square and the one at the back there, I did 3 more decreases here, 3 more decreases there, and then another SC2 together at the bottom of the armhole. So it's not perfect. It's a little bunchy at the armpits, but at least it's not sticking out like this. It's sort of curving over my shoulders a bit. And now I have to get this thing off because I am baking. Obviously, I have not washed it yet. I think normally with Red Hot Super Saver, and this is, I think, the exact same yarn as Super Saver, when you throw it in the washer and dry, it usually softens up and things settle down a bit. So if it relaxes a little, it might look better around the armholes, but I'm happy with that final. I'm happy with that final result. And I think it's a good thing that I was able to do it with just the 14 squares, because it means I still have 46 left to play with. And also only using the 2 colorways of yarn, it means it's a little more toned down than it could have been. It's still, well, kind of crazy, isn't it? Oh, talking of baking, it's been a baking, yesterday was a baking day for sure. You will have already seen the cheese buns that I made, and then I also made some cookies later that afternoon, and I'll put both recipes underneath this video. The cookies had mashed banana and applesauce in them, and I don't buy applesauce. Whenever a recipe asks for applesauce, I'll just chop an apple up or 2, throw a bit of water with it in my Vitamix, blend it up, instant applesauce. Easy. And I think the intention was for that to replace the oil, because there was no oil in the recipe. It makes for a slightly different texture, maybe not as decadent as one is used to, but it makes it fat-free and therefore guilt-free, right? Anyway, I had one after my dinner last night, and I had one for breakfast as well. Very good breakfast cookies. I did not have any chocolate chips. The recipe did not call for chocolate chips, but I have not bought chocolate chips since Costco put the price of their Kirkland chocolate chips up to $26.99 for a 2 kilogram bag. I can't remember how much they used to be, but they went up about $7, at least $7 a bag. And I'm like, well, it's probably a good thing I'm not buying them right now, because when we have a 2 kilogram bag sitting in the pantry, you know what happens, right? We go hunting and picking. So, yeah, it's good for the self-control. So that's going to be all of the finished objects for this vlog. But I will just give you a sneak peek as to what I'm working on now. I did start a skirt yesterday. It's the one from this book, Weekend Sewing. And it's this skirt here. It's on the cover. And there's another picture of it right here. Now, what do you notice about these photographs? They do not show you the whole skirt, especially the top part. I laid out my fabric yesterday. They said 4 yards. Okay, I thought I'll buy 4 meters, because having a bit extra is never a problem, right? So I looked at the layout in the book for laying your fabric, for laying your pieces, pattern pieces on the fabric. So here's the layout. Now, what do you notice? You notice that you can fit 2 of these side by side, and then all these other pieces alongside these pieces. In reality, that's impossible. So I ended up being doubly sure before I even cut one of the pieces out that it was all going to come out of the fabric. So what ended up happening is this skirt this skirt panel piece, which I needed 8 of, in other words, 4 cuts with the folded fabric, I ended up having them consecutive. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I kept them as close to the selvages as possible. And that way I was able to get the waistband pieces out above that. And then miraculously, the 2 waistband ties that are supposed to be cut on the bias, there was an odd little piece from each of the skirt panels that was diagonal, and it wasn't truly on the cross grain. I ended up just going with fitting it into the little bit of space I had so that I was able to cut the waistband ties out. And in the end, I had, I think, over 1 meter of fabric left. So that was awesome because I might be able to make a matching top. So swings and roundabouts. I'll just show you the fabric quickly. Nope, that's not it. Now, at first glance, this fabric looks like it wouldn't matter which way round it goes. But I think that that is supposed to be a face. And so there's leaves and faces all over it. So I made sure that all of my pieces were cut out with what I saw as the faces the correct way up. So I'm proud of myself for doing that. So there's 8 gauze of the skirt, and you sew them together with a French seam, which I did. So that's good. And I have hemmed that end part at that end and the end part at the other end. That's as far as I've got at the moment, because it got late last night. We had to go out for our usual walk, and I was getting frustrated with it. The other complaint I have about this, apart from the fact that the layout is wrong, all right, the other 2 complaints I have about this, apart from the fact that the picture of the cutting layout is wrong, is that at some point in here she says that the right waist tie is longer than the left waist tie because it has to go across your body to tie to the left one. And yet, the pattern pieces that I have traced and labelled as left and right, my left one is the long one. So I got a bit confused. And because these are just hand-drawn instructions, I cannot tell whether the curved top of the waistband is the upper edge or the lower edge. There's a straighter edge and there's a more curved edge, and she doesn't say which way around that's supposed to go. And also, you see, it could be curved because there's a curve to the top of the skirt. But on the other hand, the rather inadequate diagram seems to imply otherwise, possibly. And also the diagram doesn't seem to show me which way round the points on the ends of the ties are supposed to be, whether they're supposed to be at the top edge or the bottom edge, which would help me figure out which side was which. So I'm going to do it as best I can and hope for the best. So that will be something I'll show you in the next vlog. Hopefully a successful finish. Cross your fingers, guys. And so we are done for today. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you watching and liking and commenting and all that stuff, because I love to read your comments and reply to them. and know that somebody out there is listening to me. Witter on. Nothing like good witter, I always say. So I'll see you again real soon. Thanks. Bye for now.